The sin of Jeroboam. How sad is it that God offered Jeroboam the same thing he offered David? He said, if you'll follow me and keep my commandments, I will establish your kingdom, I will be with you, and I will give you a lasting dynasty, just like I gave David. But Jeroboam just threw it away. He was more concerned about what might happen if the people turned on him instead of trusting that God gave him this kingdom and God would establish it. How sad. I've asked several people, do you know about the sin of Jeroboam? No. Well, what's that? Which is kind of strange because it's one of the great sins of the Bible. We know about David and Bathsheba and numbering the people and Jonah running from God and many of the others, but the sin of Jeroboam was mentioned over and over again in the Old Testament. It was one of the great sins because that caused Israel, the northern 10 tribes, to never have a good king because none of them got rid of Jeroboam's idols. He used a calf because that was common. The Canaanites had idols that looked like a calf. Egypt had one. People say, well, don't they remember that Aaron made a calf? And how did that turn out? Well, just like today, I'm sure people in that day did not know the stories of God. You need to know the stories of God, or else you may have to relive them. Well, Jeroboam put the calves in 2 locations. One was Bethel. Now you have to understand, the men of Israel, by the law of God, had to go to Jerusalem 3 times a year. So Bethel was 10 miles north of Jerusalem. So as the men were going to Jerusalem, it was convenient that it was right there and it was save them 10 miles to walk, 20 miles round trip. And they could be enticed to come there. Besides, Bethel was an established place of worship. Abraham worshiped there, Jacob worshiped there, and the different tribes came there. So it was easy to put one there. And then Dan to the north. You figure 3 times a year you had to go all the way south down to Jerusalem. Well, Dan was a lot more convenient. But Dan is also a beautiful place. It was, they set up idol worship there, and years later the Greeks, after Israel was gone, the Greeks came and they put the idol Pan there. The god Pan was put there in that beautiful location. Interesting enough, when Jesus took his disciples to that very location, that center of idolatry. And that's where he was declared to be the Son of God. Just like Elijah took the people to Mount Carmel, the very center of Baal worship, there to confront Baal. So Christ confronted idolatry right there and declared that he was the Son of God. Well, the prophecy, Josiah came 340 years after this and fulfilled all the prophecies that this young man of God gave. Well, so many things we could talk about. We're still going to talk about Jeroboam next week when we get into Rehoboam and Jeroboam. So come back as we continue on with insights on the story of the week. We'll see you next week.